All right. Thank you so much for joining us today, the first Saturday in March. Can you believe it? Which is Women's History Month. So,
Yes, yes,
shout out.
very, very important. Very important.
Yes, yes, yes. So, yeah, thank you for joining us on the first Saturday of Women's History Month. We got International Women's Day coming up on Monday. So, power to the women out there.
Much power.
All right. And so, we got another dope show lined up for you. We have a music interview with Danny Lamb joining us from Niagara Falls, Canada. So we're excited about that. Of course, we have music news for you and beats by yours truly.
This is really a jam. It's really a jam because, see, Danny and I actually, I was born and raised in Niagara Falls, New York. Okay, see, so we got that falls vibe going today. So y'all just need to just zone in because it's going to be live.
Yes, indeed. All right, we're going to jump right in. thank you so much for joining us today on Music Marvels with Achickwitbeatz and Breezy Gipson. We have the one, the only Danny Lamb in the virtual building with us. How are you doing today?
I'm great, thank you. How are you?
Awesome. We're very glad that you could join us here today. And so if you could just give the audience a little bit of background on who is Danny Lamb, what's your involvement with music, and when did it start?
Yeah, heck yeah. Of course, over the years, that list or that story has grown, I suppose. But I'll try and give like the Reader's Digest version or like the short version. But I'm from Canada. I currently live in Niagara Falls. I've been singing since I was 12. Grew up a lot in musical theater. I went to school for classical music, and at my core, I've also grown up not only just in music, but with a background in education. So I was always kind of pursuing music as like a profession, but I'm also a music teacher here, and have the ultimate privilege of working with a lot of super talented young folks to develop those musical skills, to pursue music in whatever way they are, as a profession or as a hobby, as a therapeutical practice. But yeah, songwriter, teacher, coach, performer, all of the above. That's kind of who I am. And yeah, I've been making music a while.
Oh, that's awesome. So you said you started singing at 12. Who were some of your influences?
When I was 12, I didn't really have any musical influences at 12, quite honestly. My mom made me take voice lessons, and we had moved to this small little town called St. David's, and as like a community engagement, there was this small little church, and so mom started to take us to church, and she would, sit in for the service, and we'd go down with all the other kids to make some new friends and be a part of the community, and so the choir director of both the church choir as well as the children's choir was a retired singer from the Phantom of the Opera, and she approached my mom to say, he's got a nice little voice. Do you think he'd want voice lessons? And this is when I was 12, and she asked me if I'd want voice lessons at like the kitchen table that night, and I was like, no, Ma, heck no. Like, I'm a soccer player. That's what I do. And long story short, I'm super happy, years later, that she forced me to take voice lessons, because it's not only what I do, but a huge part of who I am and how I work with people. And as I was growing into music and becoming more and more passionate, finding my voice and starting to write songs, I started to really initially fall in love with U2. And still to this day, I'm a huge fan of not just Bono as a singer and activist, but just the way in which the band stands for something bigger than music itself, with all the band kind of being involved in humanitarian ways and doing what they can to use their platform to learn and grow and create space. And do all those things. And I first of all fell in love just with as I say, that specific band and how like the voice and guitar just interacted. It was so cool to me. It was like so rock and roll, and I loved that. But then I started to dive deeper into the content, and I was like, whoa, these songs and lyrics are way bigger than just hit songs. They mean something, way bigger than us. And I fell in love with that medium of music activism, and I think a lot of artists that I've continued to follow, kind of not necessarily always fall in line with those core values, but oftentimes do, and stand for something bigger than the music itself, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a very important thing. A lot of times people can make music that sounds good, but it might not necessarily resonate with you if there's no oomph behind it, no passion behind it, or if you can't feel, their drive for what causes them to make the music that they make. Absolutely.
Heck yeah. Yeah.
I just want to say that that's very interesting. So at 12 years old, she finds you and she says, wow, I'd like to give him voice lessons. Nobody's going to sign up for a challenge. So she must have known, like, you had to sound great for her to be like, oh, yes, I'd love to work with him right off the bat. So, I mean, I know at the time you weren't interested, but when you reflect on that, how does that make you feel?
Oh, incredibly grateful. Incredibly grateful because I think, as I get older, I continue to reflect on certain moments in life that were pivotal moments to creating those steps to get me to where I am now. And I look at some of those mentors. Her name was Lisa Briand, and I look at her making that discovery in me. And I do truly think, like, whoa, how lucky was I to be in a right place at a right time, in front of somebody that recognized a talent and gift in me that I didn't know I had, that I didn't think of as anything like important or anything, but it was pretty cool, and through something as simple as mom making me take voice lessons, there was like my first gig ever as a very inexperienced. I don't know what the right word is. Inexperienced. I don't know. Very inexperienced 12-year-old. This audition came up to sing with the Niagara Symphony here in our local area, and that was my first gig ever. Was this gig that I somehow got with the Niagara Symphony, and that was the first moment where I really felt the power of music itself. I remember standing on the stage, and there was a moment in the movement where the symphony decrescendoed and it got super quiet, and I had to like walk out of the wing up on the stage. And the moment I turned around to face the audience, the lights came back up, and as the lights came back up, so did the symphony. They swelled back in, and that was my cue to start singing. And in that moment where the symphony started to play again, I felt the vibrations of the sound move through the wood of the stage and up my spine. And it was like a really weird moment of like, holy moly, I'm like this vehicle to drive this sound towards all these people here. This is overwhelming. It was wild, and that feeling has continued to grow. And working with music in so many different capacities, that feeling has stayed with me for forever, and it's continued to be a huge part of the why behind the reason I create, work with young people in music. It's a huge part of that.
That's beautiful. Some people would have probably experienced that moment and just clammed up. I think I got a little bit of stage fright just listening to you talk about it. So the fact that you allowed that sensation and that feeling to propel you forward, to do what you do, and just, that's really incredible.
Yeah, it was a moment, that's for sure. I couldn't tell you how or why I didn't clam up and just like let it consume me, because it very easily could have. I guess from a young age as well. I did a lot of public speaking and a lot of that stuff. So while singing was like a new medium to using my voice, one that I didn't realize I had, using my voice and kind of strengthening my abilities in public speaking and using my voice wasn't necessarily new to me. So I guess maybe that was a piece of it. I don't know. I actually never thought about that until now. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure that had to help, but it also probably had to just be a part of you altogether, in order for you to just instinctively move forward with what you were there to do. So kudos to you for that.
Thank you.
So yeah, you mentioned that you're also a coach, and for those listeners that tuned in last week, Danny Lamb is the one who brought us Jacob D'Souza. And so, being a coach in the same way that you said that Lisa recognized that talent in you, it appears that you've done the same thing. And instead of, just kind of hoarding it for yourself, you're introducing him to more people, us, which we're greatly appreciative for. Yeah. So, could you tell us a little bit about how you view your role as a coach for some of the young, talented musicians that you work with?
That's actually, it's so interesting because I love how you just said it there, because I've actually never thought about that either, in terms of like Lisa found that in me and now I'm like I never thought about it in that exact way. So thank you for circles. That's really cool. Yeah, it kind of is. That's cool. I'm a huge, first of all, beyond the music itself, I'm just a huge fan of young people. Having something to say, and not necessarily always knowing how to express themselves. And I think that's where music does come in so incredibly. Is music, of course, is an incredible outlet for whether you're pursuing a career in music, or whether you just need to get, feelings out of you. Songwriting as a catalyst to like just write stuff down on a piece of paper is like so therapeutical. And there's so many studies, there's so many different things that kind of point to why and how music can be a huge benefit to bringing out the best in people. And for me specifically, I love what that looks like through the power of young folks like Jacob. He over the course of the past while working with him, hearing his voice develop as a singer, hearing his songs just continuously get better and stronger, and it's inspiring. It's inspiring, and it's just so cool. And I thank you. And it's Breezy, yes?
Yes.
Yes, okay, sorry, I didn't want to say that wrong. Breezy. Thank you and Breezy for giving him the space to share his story, to talk about Come Back to You, to share a piece of him, because I think the other interesting thing right now, he's 15. He's so young, and sometimes for somebody so young, it can be hard to find those platforms that will embrace him, that will let him speak, that will let him play, that will play his songs. It can be really, really hard to find those platforms. And we were talking before about the power of social media, and I didn't know you a couple weeks ago, but now I'm so happy I do.
Right.
Not only because you've like so effortlessly embraced Jacob, who I care about as a songwriter, person, a human being, but because I'm so grateful to just to get to call you a part of my story now as well, and hopefully continue to collaborate and work together, and yeah, I just I love that about working with young people, and love hearing the brilliance that they so often have to share if given the space and time to share it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, and that's really crucial. A lot of times with, some of the larger platforms, they're already kind of seeking, what's hot and what's trendy. But typically by the time they address that, then people are on to the next thing. So, we really feel like it's important to give people who have the talent and the drive the spotlight to be able to share it, because, there's nothing greater than when you get to kind of watch somebody blow up all of a sudden and say, hey, I remember when I checked them out before you even knew who they were.
Yeah.
That's something that we love to do. And yeah, you're 100% right. The people who are young and talented, they need every opportunity that they can get to share their thoughts.
Absolutely. And it's, you know, it's interesting because again, to come back to even music through social media and things like that, there's so many different ways as well to get yourself out there today. And I think it's interesting because I'm also somebody in working with youth who I've always really loved to position myself in not necessarily knowing everything. For example, there's things that Jacob has even taught me about social media in diving into what I would consider a younger person's game. I mean, social media, and I chuckled because when we got talking about his platforms and what he's on, you know, Facebook is a no-brainer for me, but he wasn't on Facebook initially, and he was like, I don't use Facebook at all. And I was like, man, I forget how young you are, and that like Facebook is like slowly becoming not cool anymore.
Right.
And then I was like, but you need to get on Facebook right now, please.
Yes. I've seen that happen many times, and yeah, it's quite interesting the number of, you know, younger people who don't use it at all.
Yeah,
basically have no need for it. But it's always good to have those placeholders there, so that way, no matter where your fans are, they can find you.
Heck yeah. Absolutely. As much as I love being able to give, encourage, and amplify the voice of somebody like Jacob, I also, quite honestly, I love learning from him and you know, seeing things through his perspective, because who's to say my perspective is going to be right all the time? You know what I mean?
Right.
It probably won't be. I'm probably wrong more than I'm right.
Aren't we all? Most of us won't admit that, though. But
heck yeah.
Yes. So, as we get ready to bring this interview to a close, before we go, I need for you to do me a huge favor and let everyone listening know where they can find you, follow you, check out your music and everything that you're doing.
Yeah. If you Google Danny Lamb, I come up a bunch for different reasons. We didn't get into it, but I also work a lot with two conditions known as spina bifida and hydrocephalus. So if you see my name come up with regards to, you know, working alongside those two conditions, that's me. In terms of music, Spotify, iTunes, Amazon, YouTube, under Danny Lamb and the Association, and then Facebook, Instagram, all the socials, as either Danny Lamb Music or Danny Lamb Official. But yeah, I think I've got enough out there that if you search one of those things, you should find me somewhere. That's for sure. But yeah.
So typically, you know, our listener base is very diverse, but we have a lot of independent artists and musicians. So before you go, if you could give maybe anything that you feel that you've learned throughout your career that someone else might benefit from.
Yeah. Collaboration is key. I think especially today, you know, you look at so many hit artists or so many people that have, you know, as society views it, been successful in the industry. There's a lot of those quote unquote successful folks who have been so successful because they're incredible at collaborating with people. It doesn't mean they're the best at their trade or their art or writing songs or anything like that, but they're really good at working with people, and listening and learning and talking and growing and just collaborating, period. And I think that is not something I've always been perfect at, but for a long time it's been something that I've constantly work to become better at, because I recognize how important it absolutely is. So collaboration is key.
Well, we thank you so much for that. We thank you for sharing your time, your wisdom, your knowledge with us. And, I really, really hope that you'll come back to join us again soon. Because I know we just barely scratched the surface. So, next time we got to get into your organizations and all that good stuff too.
Oh my God. Yeah, I can't wait. Maybe when I've got a new tune out, I'll come back and we can talk about it.
That'll be perfect.
I love it. Love it.
So thank you again. And so listeners, you heard everywhere to check him out. Please do that. And till next time. Thank you so much. So much. All right. That was Danny Lamb. It was really, really good having him on. I just really enjoyed his energy, his positivity, and just grateful that he could share his story with us.
I'm telling you, that's that Niagara Falls vibe now. Hey, that mist is coming, so that mist is strong, man. It makes for a lot of creativity.
I love it. Yes. So good vibes. All right, we're going to get back to a little bit of music, and then we'll be right back with music industry news after this. and we are back. Round one of music industry news. Live Nation sold 170,000 tickets for the 2021 UK Summer Festival within 3 days. 170,000. So, if they could sell them that quickly, you can tell how excited people are to be getting back to doing concerts and festivals.
Oh yeah. I mean, speaking of that, I was involved in one just this past weekend, and people were out. Although it's outdoor, there were a lot of folks. Actually, you got to be safe now. Don't just go willy nilly. But a lot of folks had masks on, and some didn't. But it's just the fact that, hey, it was a sunny day and people were out.
Yes. So we can be expecting more of that, especially as more vaccines roll out and for the people who are going to be taking them. So, like he said, still make sure that you take your precautions, but also as a music artist, noticing that people already have this urgency to kind of get back to doing it. If this is something that you want to do as far as performing, now's a good time to start preparing for that, because summer's going to be here before you know it.
Yep. And don't let it pass you by.
Exactly. So, make sure that you check out venues that you're interested in performing in. And, shout out to Indie on the Move. If you're familiar with them, make sure that you're checking out what they're doing, because they're still hard at work, letting you know what venues are opening up in, different cities and states all across the country in the United States. So, make sure that you tap in with them. You can check them out on Twitter, and if you're ready to start touring and getting back to the music, then make sure you start locking down those dates now.
Absolutely. And a quick shameless shout out to the Harley Davidson motorcycle dealership in Lithia Springs, Georgia, which is just north of Atlanta. And they put on a great event every year. Couldn't do it last year, but they got back into form this year, and with the outdoor event. So shout out to them.
Awesome. Sounds like a good time.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so, speaking of music venues and all that good stuff, you got to shout out Niagara Falls earlier. I'm going to shout out Kalamazoo.
Hey.
My hometown. Kalamazoo is just announced that Hard Rock Hotels is coming. So they're opening up Reverb. And so they're opening up this hotel, Hard Rock, classic brand. And so it's also going to be a spot for a new music venue. So that's coming. That's really exciting. Kalamazoo's a little big city, so it's always fun when we get new stuff like that.
But it's got a strong vibe, though.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, strong vibe.
Yeah, and so it'll be opening up, one of the Gipson location sites.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
And speaking of music venues, the iconic Morton Salt building in Chicago is getting the transfer, and so that's going to become a live music venue, and they believe that it's going to bring a whole bunch of revenue to the city. So you can see, like, everybody's kind of preparing for everything to go back to normal. Not saying that we're there yet, but yeah, it's just something to know. Keep your eyes on what's happening. Pay attention to these new venues popping up, because a lot of times they'll be open to having a different variety of artists. So, if you can kind of get in on the ground floor, that'd be good for you.
Better go for it.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to get back to some more music, and then we'll be back with round two of music news right after this. back with round 2 of music industry news. Money, 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 money. SoundCloud is launching what they call fan-powered royalties on April 1st. So what that means is that every person that listens to SoundCloud, whether they pay for it via subscription or if they just listen on the ad tier that kind of supports it, so the free one, whoever they listen to, that's where the revenue earned is going to go to. So this is different from how Spotify does it. So basically what happens, you listen to people on Spotify, they're basically just paying attention to the ad revenue that comes in or the subscription money that comes in, and they pull it all together and they distribute it amongst the major artists and all the other artists on Spotify. So basically, as an independent artist, you could be the main person that people are coming to listen to. However, your chunk of change is going to have to get split up amongst everybody that's on Spotify. So this is an alternative, so that way, your fan base can actually make sure that you earn the money that they're helping you get. So the support that they're showing you will reflect monetarily on your end. Yeah.
Good stuff.
Absolutely. And Howard University School of Business announces a $4.9 million gift from Warner Music Group and the Blatnick Family Foundation. So now they're going to take that money and open a center specifically dedicated to the music business. So any person that's interested in learning music management and all the other side, that's a little bit apart from the actual artist side itself, but all the other facets that many people need to know, now that's going to be available for them to learn directly at Howard University. So that's a great thing. Good news.
That's right. Definitely.
And recorded music revenue hit $12 billion in 2020 amid what they're calling the music streaming boom. So while everyone was trapped at home or, in a desolate work area, wherever they had to do whatever they had to do, everybody was streaming music. And so recording music brought in a lot of money. And so, kudos to everybody that's been a part of that and been putting out music. And, if not, guess what? You can be a part of the big pool that we're going to hear about at the end of 2021 too. So rock on.
Rock on.
And Spotify got into a bit of trouble in South Korea. So there were hundreds of K-pop songs that had to be removed from Spotify because they didn't work out a licensing deal with one of the major distributors over there, which I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right. I believe it's Kakao M. And so apparently they're responsible for most of the songs that get released there. And so without them, then, they're kind of missing a lot of the local artists in the area that they just recently launched in. So hopefully they can come to an agreement and benefit the people in South Korea who want to listen to local artists there via Spotify.
Yeah, well, let's hope so. Let's hope. Get it done.
Yep. All right, we're going to be back with...
Well, you know what? Hey, yeah, we're going to be back, but I just got to throw this in there. I got to throw this in there because right now, it's a great time to zone in because these beats on this show, these beats be banging. I'm telling you right now, these beats be banging. So if you're a singer, musician, if you're a hip hop artist, rapper, lyricist, roller skater, ice skater, because they use music as well, comedian, a lot of folks need music, and these beats on this show be banging, and these beats are created and produced by the one and only Achickwitbeatz. So if you're looking for that next new flow, go through the selection on Achickwitbeatz.com. You might find something in there that could turn out that you can buy, and that could be your next big hit. So take a moment, browse through Achickwitbeatz.com. All of these are brand new. She's put the time in to lay them down in the right way. So check it out on Achickwitbeatz.com.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. All right. And we'll be back to close out the night with you after more music by yours truly. and that's a wrap for this week's edition of Music Marvels with Achickwitbeatz and Breezy Gipson. We're so glad that you chose to spend this time with us, and we hope that you'll come back to do it again next week.
Oh man, it's exciting.
Yes, so make sure you tune in, tell a friend. We'll see you then. Peace.
Yeah, peace.